For all the parents watching this morning, you know humor is a great coping mechanism when you're trying to guide a young human being through the world while keeping, your own sanity intact. Our next guest can relate so much so that he's named his brand new comedy album Fatherhood. Charlie Demers is the author, activist, and stand-up comic, and he's here to drop a few dad jokes in studio this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you. Before the break, my daughter's middle finger was blurred out. But I guess there was a feeling that people had woken up, they'd had some coffee, they were ready to see a 6-month-old girl telling the world what she thought.
From the beginning of the very first track, you ask your daughter, does Daddy tell good jokes? And she said, this is verbatim, I want to go now with Mommy.
Yes.
Okay. That's great for the self-esteem, isn't it?
Yeah. My friend Sean Cullen once said, when you become a father, you become the second most important person in two people's lives. And I always thought that was a very wise bit of advice. Josephine is my daughter's name. We named her after Stalin, and she is on the album. She appears thematically throughout the album, and I wanted for people to get to hear her a little bit. This is what she looks like now. She's a big 4-year-old girl. She would be very unimpressed if I was calling her a baby on television.
They're always our babies.
Yes.
But okay,
yes.
So here's the thing. Once one has kids, one can't stop talking about one's kids.
No, it's true.
And so you have now put this onto an album. Was there a fear that you were thinking, I might be too close to this. I might be in a dad bubble here, and everything my daughter says is funny to me, but it might not be funny to anybody else. How did you gauge what was going to go onto this album, and how did you gauge what material was going to be universal? Yeah,
I mean, it's tough because sometimes, you're going out to perform in comedy clubs where the median age is 19, and people are sitting in the audience going, what's this guy talking about? His daughter. I'm a daughter. It can be very tough, and nobody wants to be the dad joke guy.
Right.
But, on the other hand, it's the thing that's going on in your life, and you're going to these prenatal classes, and you're going to these breastfeeding courses, because it's very complicated. All of this stuff is running through your mind, and you can't really stop thinking about it. The other thing is that everybody's so precious about everything you're learning, everything you're going through, and that provokes, the stand-up comedian's natural desire to poke at whatever someone is telling you is precious.
When we found out we were having twins, we panicked a little bit. My dad said to me, and he's got this deep baritone, it's always very soothing, and he said, Ben, having a baby is a miracle. It's one of the most amazing things in the world. It also happens about 5 million times a day. So don't worry too much, you'll be fine. So you've got the fatherhood on one hand, and then there's these aspects of your live shows that come through, and some of the track titles, Taco Nazi, Pastry Racist, Nazi Babies. My friends in university coined the term conversational Nazism. And it seems that you've hit the nail on the head here. So you got Precious Baby Girl.
Yeah.
And Hitler.
Yeah, which is why Fatherland, it's the perfect title.
Explain the mashup to me. How does it make sense in your own head?
Yeah, we all have, every parent has these 2 layers of worry, right? You've got your intimate, personal worries. Is the kid walking soon enough? Are they talking soon enough? And then you've got the social historical worries of, will there be nuclear Armageddon? Will the sea levels carry my baby away? These kinds of historical questions. And my generation of parent, we're the guys who have to face all the problems that humanity thought we'd solved. You pick up a newspaper and read about whooping cough, and you go, I thought we were done with whooping cough. And then there's a story about Nazis. And you go, similarly, I thought we were done with the Nazis. And so the album is kind of about the anxieties of bringing a mixed race girl. My wife and I we're in a mixed marriage. I'm from Vancouver. She's from Toronto, and we have this, mixed race little girl who's come into a world where, fascists are
a thing again.
In a creepy and unsettling way.
As opposed to the uncreepy fascists.
Sure,
we're all so
just
familiar
the gentle, gentle small-town fascists.
I'm always fascinated with learning about how a stand-up comedian became a stand-up comic, because in a lot of cases, they didn't start out jotting down jokes and telling their parents, I want to go into dive bars and tell jokes.
Yeah.
What was your sort of pre-comic life?
Well, I mean, I do remember my first little bit of doing something, akin to proto stand-up for my parents. I had just learned how babies were made and found out about, I heard them talking about a couple that got pregnant by accident. And I thought that meant that they had accidentally had sex. And so I started doing this, hey, how does that happen? And I was probably about 6 or 7 years old when that happened. I come from a family where everybody was very, very funny. My mom was a very funny woman. It was a very prized, saying the funniest joke was kind of like being the kid who was good at football in other families. And so it was always kind of in the air for us. And then finally, in my sort of early mid-20s, I got up on stage, tried it out, and fell in love with the paycheck. And just kind of kept on going from there.
Charlie Demers, thanks so much for being here.
Thank
Good luck
you
with
for
everything.
having me.
All the
Cheers.
best.